If we want to look at the brain and how it functions, there are a number of techniques available to us, each with their own advantages and disadvantages. Brain investigation techniques can be divided into 3 broad categories. Structural techniques are used to determine the structure of the brain and what it looks like, but aren't useful for telling us about second-by-second activity. If we think of the brain like a car engine, structural techniques would be like taking photos of the engine and its different components. These photos would tell you how the parts of the engine are laid out, but not how fast the car is or how well the engine runs. In the case of structural scanning techniques, these photographs go beyond normal photos as they allow us to see the internal structures of the brain. Functional techniques tell us about how the brain is operating in real time, how chemical balances, electrical activity, or blood flow are changing in the brain, but don't give us much information about brain structure. This would be like listening to the sound an engine makes when it's running, detecting second-by-second indicators of performance in response to different conditions, including rest. Finally, there are brain stimulation techniques. These techniques involve directly stimulating or inhibiting regions of the brain so we can understand what these regions do. This would be like pressing different buttons and pedals in the car to see how the engine responds. A computerized axial tomography, or CAT scan, also known as a CT scan, is a sophisticated form of X-ray that builds up a picture of the structure of the brain through a series of 2-dimensional slices. CT scans are generally quicker than MRI scans, and the scanning bore, the opening the patient or participant goes into, is larger, which makes the scanning experience less anxiety-inducing for people with claustrophobia. CT scans are also currently cheaper to administer. A downside is that CT scans involve X-rays, which give a small dose of radiation. MRI, or magnetic resonance imaging, uses a combination of radio waves and a strong magnetic field, as opposed to X-rays in a CT scan. A large magnet firstly aligns hydrogen protons found in water in the body. These protons are then knocked out of alignment by a radio wave pulse. As the protons relax back into alignment with the magnet, the energy that is emitted is detected by a radio wave receiver, also known as a coil, that is placed over the part of the body to be imaged, such as the head. Protons in different types of brain tissue relax back into alignment with the magnet at different rates, providing information that can be used to determine brain structures. The strength of MRI magnets is measured in Tesla, with higher Tesla MRI scanners producing higher resolution images of the brain. There are now new and very specialized types of MRI scanner that are optimized to focus on the connections or pathways in the brain. These produce incredibly detailed images that show white matter connections in the brain, unlike those seen in a traditional MRI. Portable MRI scanners are also being developed, which, although very low Tesla, have the potential to make MRI accessible to many new settings around the world through the greatly reduced size and cost of the equipment. fMRI, or functional MRI, is conducted using the same scanners as a structural MRI scan, but fMRI detects changes in the concentration of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood in the brain, indicating which brain regions are most active at any specific time. This makes it a functional technique. This can be done when a participant is resting or in response to a task, such as tapping their finger. Coordinates from the fMRI scan are lined up with a structural MRI scan, usually run in the same scanning session, that shows the anatomy of the brain. In this way, it's possible to locate where the activity is occurring in the brain. PET, positron emission tomography, shares some similarities with fMRI in that it provides information about the function of the brain. Unlike fMRI, PET requires an injection of radiation that tags onto different biological properties and can give far more biologically specific information than fMRI. Due to its ability to give very specific information about the biology of the brain, it is used a lot in clinical settings. Comparing PET to fMRI, fMRI is a cheaper and less invasive method, i.e., it doesn't require a radioactive injection, so is generally preferred for research scans. EEG stands for electroencephalography and involves putting sensors on the scalp to measure the electrical signals used for communication in the brain. The brain produces different frequencies of brain waves which are associated with different states of consciousness. For example, low-frequency theta waves during sleep and higher-frequency beta waves when awake. Using this technique, we can see how the brain reacts to stimuli in real time, so we say it has good temporal resolution. Compared to fMRI, which identifies blood flow into a region over the course of maybe a few seconds as it becomes active, EEG is effectively instantaneous, as it measures electrical activity directly. However, measuring electrical activity on the scalp only gives a very approximate indication where the signals are coming from within the brain, so we say it has poor spatial resolution. In a medical setting, EEG is used to investigate a number of conditions, in particular epilepsy. One of EEG's biggest advantages is that it is extremely portable. You can bring it to the bedside, and has the lowest equipment cost of any of the techniques described here. MEG stands for magnetoencephalography and is similar to EEG in many ways, but detects the magnetic fields associated with brainwaves rather than their electrical fields. Similar to EEG, MEG has good temporal resolution, but magnetic fields are less affected by the tissue they pass through as they reach the sensor. So MEG is better at localizing activity compared to EEG and produces less noisy data. The major downside of MEG relative to EEG is the size and cost of the equipment involved, although more portable versions of MEG are currently being developed. Compared to fMRI, MEG has much better temporal resolution but poorer spatial resolution. It's important to note that you don't get an image of the brain with EEG and MEG. You just get brain activity information in the form of electrical or magnetic signals. So data from these techniques are often overlaid onto an MRI scan in order to relate the activity to underlying anatomy. Whilst EEG and MEG are used to detect signals coming from the brain stimulation techniques can be seen as almost the reverse, sending signals back into the brain to affect the way it functions. By seeing what happens when a particular brain region is stimulated, we can establish causality in terms of what a particular brain region does. This is different from functional imaging techniques that can only establish associative links. There are several forms of brain stimulation, the most common being TES and TMS. TES, transcranial electrical stimulation, uses electrical stimulation to activate brain regions, whilst TMS, transcranial magnetic stimulation, involves activating brain regions through electromagnetic induction. A common demonstration of TMS is to activate an area in the motor cortex which causes the participant's hand to move involuntarily each time a TMS pulse is fired. It can be very powerful to combine brain investigation techniques to take advantage of the strengths of each. For example, having a joint PET and CAT scanner allows you to collect both structural and functional information about a patient. The structural technique provides the map, the functional technique provides the activity analysis. Another example is combining a brain stimulation technique such as TMS with EEG, so that you can stimulate the brain and then measure the functional impact of the stimulation. Finally, you might want a participant to wear an EEG cap during an fMRI scan to compare how levels of oxygenated blood correspond to electrical signals coming from the brain. Combining techniques does present particular challenges, however. If you wear an EEG cap inside an MRI scanner, then the EEG signal will be affected by the MRI magnet, so you need to use sophisticated algorithms to filter out any extra noise that is introduced. There are many ways to look at the brain, and with ever-advancing technology, we can look forward to a future where exciting new insights are gained into how this incredibly complex part of the body functions.